All right, folks, peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about Senator Mitch McConnell has officially announced that he is stepping down as the Republican leader. We'll talk a little bit about the implications of that. Also, let's talk about what happened in the Michigan primary yesterday as the voices of the uncommitted have been heard loud and clear. We're going to share with you the latest efforts by those Arab Americans who are saying that they're not committing to Joe Biden until the president changes course in Gaza. We'll have that conversation later. Let's talk about Diddy, sexual assault, and a reckoning of a culture. Are we having this type of conversation, the important conversation about misogyny and sexual assault in the hip hop industry and culture? We'll talk to one music insider to get the latest about that. And later on, getting your money right for the season and for life, we're going to be checking in with Mr. Donald Williams, owner of Williams Accounting, to talk about how you can save money this tax season. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. I am so happy to have you and to have you joining me today as we have another exciting edition of the culture. We're all ready and primed up for you. Folks, we are streaming right now on our platform. Make sure you check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And we would love to get your support as we are powering our way through this digital space with Black content, with news and information like never before. So go to our website today, download the app again at Black Star Network, and we truly thank you for your support and for your donation. Also, folks, we are streaming on Amazon platforms. Make sure you check us out on Amazon News or your Fire TV. Make sure you check us out on Amazon Prime Video. That's right. Find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, The News. We're also on the Freevee Network. Make sure you find us under On Now or News for Black Star Network and on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Search for Black Star Network or find us on under Live TV, The News and Opinion. Now, folks, we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media pages. You can find us on his Facebook page streaming right now. So big shout out to all of the culture crew that's on the Facebook side of things. We're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel. So just check us out there. And big shout out to the crew on the YouTube channel. I see y'all. As well as folks on the X platform. Thank y'all so much for checking in. Let me see who we got on YouTube. My brother Damon Blissett is back in the chat. Brother Damon, good to connect with you once again. Thank you, sir. The ABX girl, I see you. Thank you for checking in. Mink Leader Tyson Surge, I got you. Pauline Hurt, I see you. Tiana, excuse me. I see you. Thank you for checking in. Who else we got in here? Folks are coming in. And folks, you could do the same thing. Just go to Big Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page as well as his YouTube channel, and let's be a part of the conversation as the official culture crew. All right, it's Wednesday. Let me check in with my sister. She's gonna be here with us just for a little bit today because she's going to be doing some things in the city of Miami, and I can't stop her, y'all. I just can't stop the train of Suzette's song, Suzette Speaks.
Almost had me. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good,
Happy
Suzette.
Everybody, good to see
Happy
everybody.
Wednesday. Look, you looking all bright and everything, looking all beautiful. You ready to rock and roll today?
Yes, I got to hit the road right after the 4 o'clock hour. I appreciate you. Hey, everybody, don't have my phone. My phone is charging. Sorry, but shout out to the chat, the culture crew. I appreciate all of y'all. Good to be here.
Good to be here. All right, Suzette, let's get this whole conversation started. First and foremost, the exclusive news coming out of Washington, D.C., with Senator Mitch McConnell announcing that he is stepping down this term. He has been serving as the Republican leader since 2007, and he made this announcement on the Senate floor just earlier today. election will be there to replace him as leader, and it will occur in November with his succession taking charge in January. Here's what Mr. McConnell had to say about his time as the Republican leader. Take a look at this. Here's the latest quote from him. He says, one of life's, I'm looking at the second paragraph, folks, one of life's most underappreciated talents is to know when it's time to move on to life's next chapter. So I stand before you today, Mr. President, and my colleagues to say this will be my last term as Republican leader of the Senate. He added in his address that he had total clarity and peace about the sunset of his work. Suzette, what do you make of this? Exactly, Suzette.
he just realized, but many critics even and supporters have felt this way about Mr. McConnell for a long time. Now, first and foremost, I will give him his flowers as the longest serving leader in his capacity. Now 82 years old, just turned ripe old age of 82 last week. And we recall that even just a few months ago, we were talking about Mr. McConnell having difficulty speaking, having some, freezing episodes and other things that had many pundits questioning his capacity and his ability to lead. So I think this has a lot to do with that aspect, the health and wellness aspect of what it takes to lead the Senate. But I also think there is a changing of the guard happening, as we talked about on this show last week, with the Republican Party kind of morphing into the party of Mr. Trump. So Mitch McConnell fell out of the good graces of Mr. Trump after the 2020 election, when he refused to abide by that lie that Mr. Trump won. And since then, he has represented kind of the old guard, faction of the Republican Party that is still true to certain principles and not just true to a person. But he has had some incredible wins, some very controversial. I always recall that he blocked, as Senate President, Barack Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland for almost 9 months at the end of Barack Obama's term, and didn't hold a vote on him, and said it was for the next president to choose the next Supreme Court justice. And I think with that, he definitely changed the tone and tenor of the Senate forever. And he'll have a controversial legacy as he decides to step down. But of course, he's also mentioned he's not leaving his office. His term will end in 2027. So although he will no longer serve as leader after the November election, that means a new leader will be chosen in January after the 2024 election, he still plans to hold his Senate seat for the remaining of the term.
Suzette, you are my sister, and this is why we have you on the show, because you nice. You nice. You are nice. I got to take a quick pause.
I want to hear this,
You nice. You nice. You nice. Because I can't find nothing. I can't find nothing. Y'all, Suzette, I can't find nothing good to say.
There's a lot more to say, sir. There's a lot more to say.
All right, folks, let's get into it. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's hear what you got to say as we make, as it's been announced that Senator Mitch McConnell has stepped down as Republican leader. As you heard Suzette say, he's not stepping out of Congress altogether. It's just as his role as Republican leader. What's your take? Corinna, I see what you already had to say. Corinna, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. Folks, stay with us. We're just getting started here on The Culture or the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country, poor and low wealth voters, who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Rembaba. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Checking in with my sister Suzette Speaks, who is host of the Suzette Speaks Show on YouTube. She's also a licensed attorney in the state of Florida and a political strategist. As we talk about Senator Mitch McConnell stepping down as the Republican leader after about 17 years. He said that he's going to be stepping down at the end of the term as Republican leader, but it's been about 17 years since he was put into the seat. And Suzette gave little something, little flowers to him for being the longest serving senator in the history of the United States. Now, just because he's stepping down from Republican leadership, as Suzette mentioned, it does not mean he's stepping out of Congress. That is not happening. He's still, you say he's going to be around until what year?
2027 is when his term is up. So.
All right, let me just say this, man. Like, I ain't got no flowers for dude. I don't have no flowers. Look, I just did a simple search for Mitch McConnell and Black people or Black America. One of the first searches, one of the first things that came up was this AP article. Y'all remember when he said this? When he said back in 2022, he said that he drew a lot of criticism for this, but he was talking about the reason why he blocked the federal election bill. He said, quote, the concern is misplaced because if you look at the statistics, African-American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans.
No, sir, no.
So now you implying that Black people in America, we ain't a part of this country. We something. Now look, I'm not advocating for us to
it from as just as much as Americans. So the inference for people who are watching is that American is equated to what? In the back?
Something totally outside of Black folk.
Not Black. It's crazy. It's crazy.
No, see, and so this goes to show you, and you mentioned this old guard Republican leadership. Y'all remember Strom Thurmond? Y'all remember him? Old guard Republican leadership. And I remember for years with the president and other folks, I'm talking about President Biden and other folks, that they had been trying to work with Strom. And I think Strom was from the state of, was it Mississippi or something?
I think actually South Carolina. I can Google it real quick.
Yeah. I think he was, but he was an old school segregationist.
Yes.
And he advocated, I mean, his policies were detrimental to Black people in this country. And so when I think of Mitch McConnell, I think of that type of mentality, that type of thinking, where you have these older white Republicans who are still holding on to these old American ideals. They never stepped forward in the time. Now, outside of even his Black person comment, I remember him standing on the Senate floor, and I'm sure you remember this too, Suzette. After January the 6th, here's a man that was literally running for his life on January the 6th. And I think it was January the 7th. He stood on the Senate floor, and as much as he blasted what was happened the day before, he never had the balls to call out Donald Trump. I mean, and Donald Trump ran this dude through the mud over the past few years, just ran him. And I saw in this piece from NBC News that now the Trump campaign is trying to work with him to get his endorsement for Trump for this upcoming presidential election. I ain't got no flowers. So you get, as Corinna said in the chat, get nothing but weeds from me, sir. Nothing but weeds.
There's a difference between it being, now we just want to correct for the record, the longest serving Senate leader, not senator, Senate leader.
Thank you. Yep.
But, which is the fact. So we got to lay out the fact. But no, his policies and his method of political gamesmanship was, as you stated, outside of his base, there was no love for it. So when you look at what he stood for, he stood on business. Mr. McConnell knew how to play team ball. He was an architect that helped the Republican Party become what it is today and have as much power as they have on the judicial branch, on the Supreme Court, as far as that when they control the Senate, bills that they move through. He was a young man. His first campaign, if you read his bio, was working on the Reagan campaign, 1984. So he's been around a long time. He learned and modeled himself after, those old school, as we were talking about, is old school to us now, but, the politicians of the 60s, 70s, and 80s were, a part of his formative years in terms of learning this political game. And it has served him well in terms of, again, his party's policies, right? So when it comes to achieving what the Republicans have achieved over the last several years, even in the 2016 election, and when he came and saw, Tea Party and other people that rose and fell, he has held the line for their party. He has been very skilled at that. But at what detriment to, as you pointed out, to Americans in general, but African Americans in specific. So yeah, he has said many things that have been questionable when it comes to our community as a whole, and what we would consider divisive. There are Republicans who have to thank him for, again, creating the blueprint that allows someone like a Donald Trump to, thrive, even though he's not in office, but his ideology thrives. So that has a lot to do with, the policies that Mitch McConnell championed and was able to, as the leader, whip the votes, meaning get the people who are elected to get on board and move the party's agenda forward. He was very good at that. I point out that I was reading that, he has been around so long. He had polio as a child when he was 2 years old. He didn't expect to walk. He has an interesting story. So looking at, how long, in fact, he's been around, he has a wealth of knowledge, but how he's used it for many of us is questionable at the very least. But
very questionable.
He's here, and I guess, like I said, this to me shows a more changing of the guard when it comes to who's in control of the party. It's definitely not the traditional folks who would be called, I guess, traditional conservatives. It's now the the Donald Trump wing. And Mitch McConnell did not fall in line, like I said, with the big lie. And so there has to be, even though Mr. Trump has not won any election yet, there's this kind of movement happening, not only to younger, but to those who are ideologically aligned more with Mr.
And you know what? Something else that we need to consider is that Trump should pay him great honor because of what he was able to do in terms of Mitch McConnell was instrumental in getting those 3 conservative justices on the Supreme Court. And I saw that, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Tiz. That's his Tiana. Tiana, you say he was very instrumental in getting those 3 unqualified justices on the Supreme Court. So that's a huge part of his legacy, is making the Supreme Court a super conservative bench. So that's one thing. Tiz, you said late Jesse Helms was another old guard senator of North Carolina, same as Mitch McConnell. I forgot about Jesse Helms, but you're right, Tiz. I forgot him. Yeah. It's a group of them, right? And they just dying off, just send them out to pasture and do what they need to do.
Yeah, he's what did I say? One of the last men standing, like himself. Well, go ahead. But the
you're right.
Is actually what they said. I read something that said 70 is the new 50. So they're still, our senators are disproportionately,
Lord, don't say that.
Mature in age. So no, I don't.
But you know what though? Honestly though, when I really think about this, and it crossed my mind. It's interesting that all of these individuals who serve public office for so long, they get hit with medical conditions that prevents them from remembering and from speaking.
I mean, it was really scary when he was asked a question a couple times that were on video where you could see him not be able to respond. Like total people were speculating. I'm not a doctor, and other, people watching them treat him, but we're saying looks like something was going on, physically speaking, in terms of his brain function. So for it to take that for someone to consider, like even in his speech today, he didn't give a specific reason as to why he was leaving, even though we can pretty much speculate. But he was reflecting. He was saying, I remember when I was a young guy and I realized that I'm not a young guy, trying to make a name for myself and hoping people would remember my name. And that, I think he said, Father Time is undefeated. So it's almost like a lamenting that, I would still be here if it were not for time itself. But there comes a time for all of us. And he did quote, I think, Ecclesiastes in his speech he gave on the floor during this announcement, trying to, I guess, symbolize that, he has finally come to the realization that there must be eventually at the ripe old age of 82, an opportunity for new leadership.
You know what I really hope? I'm going to say this, and this is not racist, but I hope no black folks start posting online like, oh man, Mitch McConnell. If y'all see that, I'm telling you, I'm going to start trolling the hell out of a bunch of people. I'll be like, man, do you know what this dude has done? And this is not even just about black folks. You said it earlier, Suzette. You said it about Americans. Look at the state of Kentucky. Who said it? Someone in the chat mentioned, look at the healthcare system, look at the educational system, look at the state of Kentucky. Look at how playing the party line on everything, not trying to budge, not trying to evolve in your thinking, has put people, not just black people, but white people and others, in a state of helplessness, right, for the state of Kentucky. Meanwhile, he has been bought off. He's been sold, whether it's by NRA and other lobbyists who have come into his orbit. And so when we talk about this, I mean, I think it's okay for us to look at certain people, look at their history, and say, you know what? They weren't good for us. This is not good. They weren't good for us. And, right after he said his message, and I don't know whether this was the spirit of Chuck Schumer, but Chuck Schumer was the first person to get up and shake his hand and the whole nine. Now, that could have just been being petty. Chuck Schumer could have been.
A lot of them are friends. A lot of them are friends.
And see, that's what I'm saying. I can't be friends. No. See, that's the problem, Suzette. The problem is, can you really be friends? It's one thing you have some disagreements. We can have ideological disagreements. But I'm talking about the stuff that their personal politics goes against the very essence of the foundation of what I stand on, right? Like, there's no friendship. I can't be friends with racists.
Listen, you need votes to pass laws. And in the 50-50 House, the Senate is 50-50.
I hear you.
You have to work with them. You have to. Like, there has to be. You can put how you feel about his personal, the handlings of how he's approached, the agenda that he's been able to push. But for you to pass your agenda, even in a Congress like this that is really divided, you got to work across the aisle. So I believe that they have, what could I call it? Like a professional respect in it, just in terms of, professional, cordial type movements, and it's just the right thing to do. It's like someone who's retiring from your job, and you're like, this person was the worst person ever, but everybody stands up and claps.
I know. Like,
I would. I know y'all people. Don't be fake. You got to stand up. You got to clap. I've had to do that in a professional setting where I'm looking at the person like, nah, they know.
I'm getting too old for that shit, man.
You're out. But you can't do it. I had to sit there with the award and okay, we're appreciative of your service, and you got to do what you got to do. So I think those are the things that have to play into it. But that doesn't mean he agrees with what he's done, or
no, I'm not saying that. I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
Let me be very clear as I'm outlining his past. But no, I'm not. Gotta do.
No, look. I'm like Angela Bassett when she didn't win that Oscar. That's all I mean. I'm not clapping. I'm not saying nothing. I'm having it all on my face. I'm Angela Bassett. Like, if you're gonna, I'm not clapping for you. I'm getting too old for that shit. I'm too old. I'm getting too old for this.
Nancy Pelosi gave him the Trump clap.
No, that was petty. That's petty. That's petty. That's petty, Nancy. But I'm talking about, man, we too old for this BS, man. We too old for clapping for people that are enemies. Nah, bump that.
To work with them, so we gotta take a break. Though we're over.
Let's take a break. Oh, let me just say this, Giselle, one of our great new donors, she gave something today to be a part of the Bring the Funk fan club. Giselle, you said that's crazy. It's time for him and all these old Republicans leave office completely. I don't know why they want to stay in office and die holding on instead of passing it to a newer generation. And that's going to be the problem. You have a Mitch McConnell, Strom Thurmond, Jesse Helms. Now you got these MAGA folks, and that's a whole different challenge that we're going to see from the Republican side. Giselle, thank you for your comment, and certainly thank you for your donation. Folks, we're up for a break. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered.
Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Suzette Speaks, who is a licensed attorney out of the state of Florida and host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube. Make sure y'all check her out on all social media platforms as well. Suzette, let's switch gears. Let's talk about something else in the politics world. Let's talk about what happened in the Michigan primary yesterday. Now, of course, President Biden won that primary for the Democrats, and President Trump won the primary for the Republicans. But the big news story out of Michigan is that group of folks, the Arab Americans, and we started talking about this on Monday. That group of folks who said that they wanted to kind of challenge the president a little bit because of his stance in handling of the war in Israel and between Israel and Gaza. So they created this campaign called Listen to Michigan. And they were advocating and encouraging folks to vote uncommitted in that primary yesterday. Now, I saw the numbers, and you probably have seen something different, but I saw that the uncommitted got about 13% of the vote. And let me share this from NPR. Take a look at this. This is just the latest from NPR. They said as of 5 a.m. Eastern time this morning, more than 100,000 votes for the uncommitted option on the Democratic ballot have been counted, according to results reported by the Associated Press. Biden maintains more than 80% of the total vote with nearly 618,000 votes. Listen to Michigan, which was a campaign started and spearheaded by predominantly younger Arab and Muslim organizers, led a push for Democrats to vote uncommitted in the primary as a protest vote. They're urging the president to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza and stop sending U.S. aid to Israel. According to their spokesperson and Democratic strategist Abbas Alaway, she said, "We have led a movement that is far exceeding expectations, using the ballot box to urge Americans to stop killing our families. That's all we're asking for. Just stop killing our families." And that's what he said, Abbas Alaway. Suzette, I want to get your take on this. 100,000 folks have voted uncommitted as we look at this situation. Let me see if let me hear from you. Look like we're gonna try to get our sister Suzette back into the conversation as she's experiencing some tech issue. There she goes.
No, that's what happened when you trying to answer the chat on your tablet while you doing the show. My bad. Yeah. I'm not answering no more comments. I love reading the chat. It's not disappointing today. I love my culture crew. I was nosy. I was like, well, let me see if I can get on and read what Farajii read. Y'all are having a ball today in the chat. I love it. So sorry, I'm focused only, not going back up.
I'm sorry, I was not prepared for that. Suzette, so what do you make of the uncommitted campaign? They garnered 100,000 votes, and they look like they're not stopping on this one big point for them.
Well, they definitely made a statement. I am very aware that this issue, just like you have laid out so eloquently, is something that President Biden has to confront head on, because we have seen this trend not only among Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, across the country, especially among other groups of younger voters, have expressed their disdain for the Biden administration's approach to and support of or unconditional support of Israel. It seems that this protest vote has sent a message in a very crucial state, Farajii. We have to remember that the margin that Mr. Biden was able to win by, or that Mr. Trump was able to win by, we have to look at it. It was about 11,000. Oftentimes, Michigan swings. That's why we call it a swing state. Back to the Democrats, back to the Republicans. So this group identified their target number of that amount, approximately 10,000 voters in the uncommitted category, to be a win for them. So they could show, listen, if we can get 10,000 people now in the primary to be uncommitted. This could cost you, Mr. Biden. So led by efforts, including that of Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and many others, they went out to specifically younger voters. If you look at the numbers, and I don't have them right in front of me right now, but the vote totals in like places like Ann Arbor, where there's a University of Michigan and other college towns, where you look at Dearborn, where is disproportionately a large number of Arab Americans. As a whole in the state, their population is about 300,000. And in this campaign, they, like you said, garnered 100,000 people to vote.
And that was in a short period of time. That was like a few days.
Exactly. I've been watching the YouTubes and I've been watching the Instagram posts, just trying to it gave me goosebumps. I was like listening to these individuals who posted and voiced as to why they felt this was going to be their protest vote. Now, I will caution, I'm very glad this happened in the primary, because I'm also an advocate of folks seeing the bigger picture and not necessarily being one issue voters, even though this is an extremely important issue to this community and to many others. We are going to have to calculate going forward, what are the outcomes that we want as a whole when we approach November. That aside, because again, you may not like the current administration's policy, but if there is that other person, Mr. Trump, who has garnered a win because people vote uncommitted in the fall or stay home in the fall, we know that there will be a extreme difference in the policy, and again, not favorable to the changes that this group or these group of voters wants to see. So looking at it, one thing I would also pay attention to is that, thank you, sorry, not 2020, I'm looking at the 2016 vote. Sorry, Lisa's pointing out that Biden won Michigan by 154,000 in 2020. I'm looking at the Trump win, the swing of 2016. I love our producer. She keeps us honest. Thank you. Please go back to the 2016 margin. I think it was about 11,000. So they're saying that at this time, they have shown and demonstrated 13% is a lot. That means for every 6 vote for Biden, 1 voted uncommitted. So 83%, I think 81, depending on what the latest totals are. Mr. Biden did win, but they are trying to move this movement to other primary states, particularly coming up, Minnesota, and others, and even to Super Tuesday, which is coming up on March 5th. Super Tuesday is just when a bunch of different states have their primary election all at once. So it is not a good sign, so to speak, when it comes to this particular community, because they do. Thank you, Lee. So Trump won in 2016 by 10,704 votes.
Yeah.
So Michigan can go either way is what it's basically saying. And this community understands its power. They wanted to show we're not just staying home. We're going to show through a protest, what exactly we can do. So pay attention to us. And I think that message was sent loud and clear.
I think it's a great message to send. I think it's a great message. These are Democrats. These are folks who have been long-term Democrats. These are Arab Americans. They were born in America, whose parents may be, who may have immigrated to this part of the world, right? They might be first or second generation Americans. But this is something to look at, right? And I'm with Tiz on this. Tiz says these groups are committed to their community, something we can learn here. I mean, look, they're, like you said, they're doing this in the primary. So this is like for lack of a better word, a warning shot. Like, look, hey, we want you to understand that we got some power in here. We got some juice. We got some juice, right? And so I think for Black folks in this country, we can look at this and say, man, what is something that we can learn from a protest vote, right? Like, and I get it. I get everybody. We talked about the Trump presidency, what it could potentially look like, and the whole nine. But I'm talking about this is active citizenry. And I don't want people to get it twisted as if this is something wrong. This is not wrong. You're talking about a group of people who we have always encouraged to be active in their country. This is their home, right? Just as much as we say America is our home. And this is active citizenry. We got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's have more conversation about the uncommitted voices being heard loud and clear. Crew, what's your take on this? Post your comments in the chat as we're streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel and Facebook page. And stay with us It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching
That's right.
a 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Rembaba. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister Suzette Speaks, as we're talking about the voices of the uncommitted being heard loud and clear in the state of Michigan yesterday as part of the Michigan primary. This is the group of Arab Americans, longtime Democratic voters, who are deciding to stage a protest vote against the president for his handling of the affairs in Gaza. And is between Gaza, the Gaza West Bank area and the state of Israel. And this is a sticky point for this administration at this time. And so Arab Americans have decided to launch a campaign called Listen to Michigan. And they were able to garner 13% of the vote in the primary yesterday, about 100,000 votes. Even though they said that this was a small number, it was a small number. It was a big number that happened over a short period of time. And so the hope is that the president and the vice president and his administration will listen to the call to really actively create a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Now, for Arab Americans, I'm not mad, Suzette. I'm not mad because This is their families. You talked about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. She is the first Palestinian woman in U.S. Congress. That's her people. That's her family. And so we can't, I feel like we're going to be putting ourselves in a very, very, and I'm saying black folks in particular, we're going to be putting ourselves in a trick bag if we say, oh, well, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't concern me. When in fact, the money that you pay for your taxes, and this is tax season, part of that money is going to the state of Israel to fund the attacks that they are waging against the people of Gaza and the West Bank. Now, the initial attack of Hamas was happened on October the 7th of last year, which caused 1,400 lives to be lost in that initial attack. As of today, Israel has killed over 29,000, nearly 30,000 Palestinians in the Gaza and West Bank, and they don't look like they are trying to stop. Even after a lawsuit or a case was brought against the state of Israel by South Africa in the International Court of Justice, even though there have been numerous calls from not just from the United Nations, but from countries and from the American citizens for the president to not get further involved, to not continue to aid Israel, to not provide any type of military equipment. What are you expecting folks to do? Isn't this this is what democracy is all about, right? Active citizenry. You can't wage a war or finance a war or finance any type of genocidal efforts and then to expect people to be okay about it. Especially when you have a country that has a large number of folks who are being killed across the water. It just doesn't make sense to me. What am I missing on this, Suzette?
Well, you're pointing out a lot of key facts. When we see why the uncommitted voters, came out so strongly, it's because, just like you explained, their actual families are being killed.
Actual families.
30, 20, whatever amount of relatives who have lost their lives now in the Israeli-Gazan conflict. And again, Mr. Biden does have a problem here. President Biden's administration has come out and said that they don't like basic words, that what Israel is doing, and he's admonished them and he's trying to tell them, back off, stop, let's work something out, two-state solution, something, but at least a ceasefire at the very least, and you should be protecting civilians. He's come out and said that. Of course, he's the president of the United States, not necessarily the president of Israel, but of course, fund this ally. And that is where the rub lies. That is where the protest vote has been the strongest in terms of why they can't, or as I watch, and I encourage people, just go watch some of the posts and on YouTube and on Instagram from these individuals. Again, these are just, 1 and 2, 5 folks I checked out that feel very strongly because it is very personal to them. What I would like to point out, Farajii, just as a frame of reference, how important this issue is. When we look at turnout, usually in in presidential primaries, the turnout is not ever as strong as it is in the general election, right? The primaries choose between the party, everybody's running on the Republican side, got to go against each other, and one is chosen in the primary. And then in the general, you go against the other party's nominee. But in South Carolina, for example, the turnout among its voter base was about 4% on the Democratic side. 4% of Democrats in South Carolina came out and voted. In Michigan, what just happened, 50% of registered Democrats, people with the capability to vote, came out. That is a record.
Huge.
Right? And so, like I said, in different pockets, cities like Dearborn, it was even higher.
So wait a minute, hold on. And I know we got to take another quick break, but I want to, and I know you got to go. So we're going to have to continue this. But what I'm hearing from you based on those numbers is that in a state where the president was expected to get this or not even the president, but where the turnout was expected to be like really overwhelming, it wasn't. Versus in a state of Michigan, where people are so engaged that they do turn out, right, in a bigger and much larger number. And so if that's the case, right, I'm wondering, and I know you can't answer this because you're not in the White House, maybe not yet, but you can, is that going to be the tipping point for this administration to say, we need to put our foot on the gas on this ceasefire discussion?
This definitely has gotten their attention. It did what it was supposed to do, right? To look at those numbers. Like I said, Biden, the 2020 election, he won by 100,000 plus. But before that, Trump won by 10,000 and change, about 11,000 votes. So they proved by just setting the base goal at 10,000 and having gotten 100,000 people not to sit at home, to get up and go to a poll, to press uncommitted.
That's
they're trying to say loud and clear. And I think, again, if this is a trend, now I'm hearing that in other states, as again, the primary season keeps its momentum up, they're looking to bring this campaign in other places like Minnesota, where you also
come on, you hearing that? You hearing that? No, I'm just saying I didn't know that. So hey, you put me on to something.
They're looking at it as like, okay, pay attention or else. Now, again, the consequences of being a single issue voter in November are even greater than now. So as you say, the shot across the bow, I'm for it. This is the primaries. But I was even reading that several Arab American leaders there in Michigan refused to take a meeting with the, I think is Julia Chavez. I actually had a meeting with her, not me personally, but among Black leaders here in Miami a couple months back. But she tried to sit down with a group of Arab American leaders, and they were like, no, we'll see at the polls. So the Biden administration has reached out, but I don't think it's going to change unless we see a substantive policy change, which is, again, putting Mr. Biden in a very tough decision. Like I said, I don't think he agrees with what is happening. He has said as much. But what do you do when, I don't know. I know what you do, but
here's the thing, though.
He has a very, interesting choice here to make.
He got a very interesting choice very quickly. Janelle, you said too many people are looking for excuses not to participate in the upcoming election. Folks, this is not an excuse. I don't see that, Janelle. I have to disagree with you. I don't think this is an excuse. This is active citizenry. This is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I understand. It's not a stay-at-home vote. This is
not a stay-at-home vote.
And I'm showing you what I'm capable of. Try me. That's what this is.
But check this out. Isn't that what we encourage? People say, well, people say, but see, here's the thing. I know what people gonna say, but we want a protest vote. But when Donald Trump and Baba are all on the horizon, we can keep all the protests down.
They should do it now in the primary.
Do it now. Look,
I don't know about that. But you take us down the mountain with you when you decide a protest vote in November, because there are a bunch of other issues, as we see.
I got you.
That have an impact on women, on Black folk, on a lot of the communities. Yes, we stand in solidarity, many of us on this same issue. Some, have a difference of opinions. I guess, I see it. Nobody thinks that innocent civilians should be the one to pay for what Hamas did. But this right here is a loud statement. And again, the enthusiasm of 50% of the electorate, 50% of the people who could vote came out in a primary, didn't stay home, came out to say, listen,
come on, man.
This 100,000, don't bet on it. I need you to adjust this policy. Go ahead.
Hey, Suzanne, I know we got to go. I got to let you go. Michigan, Super Tuesday is March 5th, which is next week. Super Tuesday, you have over 20 states going to the polls. Here in LA, we go to the polls the whole nine, right? So Super Tuesday is a big day for the political season. Do you think that Black people can learn something from this? Do we need to, and Corinna mentioned this in the chat, she said when we lost the opportunity because of Tim Scott, when he tanked that bill for the police accountability bill, and he tanked that, we should have did something. She said, but we left the battlefield. And I agree. I agree. Now, at this point, we're at this point. How do we make sure that we can learn the lessons from this moment, from what Arab Americans are doing and taking that same momentum, because I don't want us to get into a place where we have to silence our voices when everybody else is raising their voices, they're raising their demands and their interests. And we're like, no, we just don't want Trump in office.
No, we can learn a lot from this, Farajii. I will say Washington State and Minnesota are coming up, and they also have significant Arab American populations. Thank you, Lise. Minnesota reporting, I love saying it like that, Minnesota reportedly has 86,000 Somali Americans, right? So the largest population of Somali Americans in the country. So I really think we can, but the major, to me, lesson is not that they didn't vote. They took an affirmative action to show their power.
That's a great point.
That's my key. However, we're going to apply this in our context. To me, you cannot win on a sideline, movement. That's not a movement.
That's a good point.
What I love about this is that they showed not only are we motivated, but in the act of still going to say protest uncommitted is a louder voice than it would be in any other, circumstance as to what we have seen among many American groups. The trend being, I don't like it, I'm staying home. So whatever we learn, it's the act, not the inaction. Right?
I like that. I can agree with that.
I gotta go, y'all. I love y'all.
You gotta go, man. I appreciate you. My sister Suzette Speaks. Follow her on social media, support her, and watch her show. She's a phenomenal voice for the culture, and I appreciate her being with us every Wednesday.
My event was amazing yesterday, Farajii. My event. I'm not even trying to.
Don't gas it up.
I'm gonna fly some.
No. Next week, God willing, next week, let's talk about that. I'll give you enough time. I want you to really talk about it because you're doing some amazing work down in Miami. So thank you. Appreciate you, Suzette. All right, folks. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears a little bit. My sister Suzette Speaks, always checking in. Make sure y'all check her out on all social media platforms. All right, folks, up next, let's talk about Diddy. Let's talk about sexual assault. Let's talk about, is this going to be a reckoning for the culture? As we talk about all of these things, we're going to be joined by my sister, Tasha Love, who is a music industry insider, and get her take on the latest allegations against the mogul. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. That's right. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 at a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. Oh, my gosh. If you missed the first half of the show, definitely be a part of Team Replay. Check us out at me and Suzette. We're just talking about the issues from everything from the latest coming from Senator Mitch McConnell stepping down to what we saw in the Michigan primary that still got a lot of folks talking in the chat, and rightfully so. I understand. And we need to have more conversations about the group of the Uncommitted, as their voices were heard loud and clear yesterday in Michigan, and that may spill over into Super Tuesday come March 5th. So definitely check out the conversations there. Now, let's switch gears. But before we do, we got to let you know that we are streaming live on blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you follow us on social media, and we ask for your donations and your support because it means the world to us to get something from the people that are watching this show, especially those who watch this show each and every day to get your latest news and information. Yes, we love putting out this content, but you know what? We love to get being supported by those who watch us. So your support means a world of difference. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. And please, we ask that you support us today, and we thank you for your support. And also, while you're online, make sure you check me out. You can find me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, at Farajii on the X platform, and on Facebook, you can find me at Farajii Muhammad as well. All right, folks, let's switch gears from politics to talking about what's going on in the culture. I'm joined by my sister, Tasha Love, who is a music industry insider, as we talk about the latest allegations against Diddy. Oh my gosh, Diddy, sexual assault, and is this going to be the reckoning for the culture? Let's talk a little bit about this. Tasha, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I truly appreciate you. How you feeling this afternoon, sis?
I feel wonderful, Farajii. Thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for being with us. Let me just share with the latest from ABC News. They put this out on Monday. Take a look at this, where Sean Diddy Combs was sued Monday in federal court by a producer on his most recent album who accuses the music mogul of sexually harassing, drugging, and threatening him over more than a year. Now, the producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, says in the lawsuit that he lived and traveled with Combs from September 2022 to November 2023, during which time he recorded hours of video and audio of Combs, his staff, and others engaging in serious illegal activity. Among the allegations that Combs forced Jones to procure sex workers and pressured him to engage in unwelcome sex acts with them and others, and that Combs gave laced alcoholic beverages to people who attended parties at his homes. Damn.
Well,
he's doing a lot. I ain't talking about Lil Rod. I'm talking about Diddy. He is doing a lot. If these allegations are true, this is an allegation. However, Diddy has retained the lawyer. I was reading about this, Tasha. Diddy retained the same lawyer of Ghislaine Maxwell. I think this is the lawyer that defended the woman who was a confidant and a partner to Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
so I think what we have to do here is we have to take all the information that we have, and then we have to really go through. We have to decipher through what we see, what we know, and what we hear, and then from there we have to really try to come up with what we know to be true. Now, here's the thing with that. Since Cassie, there have been a ton of lawsuits. Nobody came before Cassie, but there's a lot of people coming after Cassie.
Right. That's a great point.
Right. So what we have to do really is we have to decipher through all the information, and we have to remember that right now we are in the public court of opinion. We are not in the courtroom. The trial hasn't started. Charges haven't been filed. We have to really wait. So I think that what we're getting is really is hearsay, right? Now, if I heard the recordings myself, I could come on and say, well, I could call you on the back line and be like, Farajii, here's what I know, here's what I heard. However, I don't have that information. I can only go based upon what we currently see in the media. And so with that said, based upon Little Rod's, what he's already put out there, we know that some things are coming back that is not actually accurate, right? We know that the salacious video, photo, porn moment that he sent with a person that looked like Stevie J, according to the porn star, that is actually the person that's in the photo / video, it's not Stevie J. So if you pull that outside of it, do we still really believe what happened to Little Rod? Now, with that said, I'm not saying I don't believe Little Rod, because there's so many accusations that are coming out that fall in line what we have seen in Cassie's docket, right? So we keep saying these repetitive details, but I'm wondering if we never had access to that docket, would it still match up? Now, I have my own questions for Little Rod, specifically the point of access. How was he able to even touch that area? Like, I have my own questions. But I will say that we still have to wait because he is innocent until proven guilty, right? So, in the court of opinion, public court of opinion, he's already lost. He's already guilty. We may never get another Diddy album. We may never get another Bad Boy record ever again. Never. But we still have to get all the facts.
Let me ask you, speaking of facts, we got to take a quick pause. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. But because the Cassie lawsuit was settled, and who said this? You don't like my music? You said Diddy settled within hours last time. He just settled that lawsuit within hours. Now, that does not mean that he's guilty, but in the court of public opinion, if you were trying to, clear your name, you would be like, man, I don't care how many times you say something. I ain't do it.
Listen, my son
was that the wrong move?
Well, you know what? It depends. It really depends upon how many brand deals he had on the table. But in the words of my son, it sounds a little sus, right?
Right.
So we really do have to take into consideration everything that he has to lose. We don't know what deals he had on the back end. We don't know what's coming down the pipeline. But I would say that it is cause for concern to see a settlement so soon. I have never seen a settlement happen that fast.
Me neither. I'm being honest with you. I ain't seen it either.
I don't think America has.
We have never seen it. And we gotta take a quick pause, Tasha. But here's my question. I want you to think about this. Are we having this conversation about Diddy? Is it the same urgency and fervor that we had about R. Kelly? Because I feel like there's something is kind of off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like even though R. Kelly, when it started to go open and we started to really see it, and one of my team members, she said, well, Diddy hasn't been arrested yet. That's when that conversation elevated in the R. Kelly situation. Yeah. And so I'm wondering, is that what it's going to need to take for us to have a different conversation about misogyny, sexual assault in the industry, in the culture, how there is this rapey culture that is prevalent in hip hop music and in some cases, and just in the overall culture. So Are we having the right conversations? I want to get your take on that.
Okay.
Folks, stay with us. Join us in the discussion. Share your comments in the chat as we're streaming on Brother Roland's YouTube channel and his Facebook page. And stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, Tasha Love, who is a music industry insider. She's been in the business for a little bit over 20 years in a lot of different spaces as we talk about the latest allegations against Diddy and the ongoing conversation about sexual assault, misogyny, and is this moment, the Diddy circumstance, can this be a reckoning for the culture and for the industry? So my question, and going back to it, Tasha, is I remember when the whole R. Kelly thing, it was a trickle. Then it started the flow started to get heavy. The next thing you know, when Surviving R. Kelly dropped, it was just like a damn Niagara Falls. It just boom. It was everywhere. We were like, oh, yep, that Negro, he did it. We went 50 Cent on him, like, oh, he did that. You know what I mean? Like, we went all the way in. But that took years.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember about that infamous sex tape that he had with the 14-year-old girl in the early 2000s. It was years of that. And I'm wondering, is that going to be the case here for R. Kelly? Like one thing, I mean, for Diddy, like one thing is we don't have any tapes, even though Lil Rod said he got videos and tapes and audio. Cassie, she said it in her lawsuit. She got receipts and she pointed out a lot of stuff in her lawsuit, right? A lot of dates and names and all types of stuff. And so what do you think is going to happen from this? Like, do you think that it's going to take years again, or are we going to have this conversation much sooner? Because it feels different for me, of how we treated the R. Kelly situation to how we're treating P. Diddy now.
Well, there's a lot of factors that play into that, right? I'll speak from my perspective. I have been a assistant program director, music director for the #1 station here in Atlanta for over 15 years. So I think I can remember the R. Kelly concert. I can remember walking backstage, talking to R. Kelly, and I can remember bringing a friend with me. There was no sexual feeling about it. You know how you I imagine that some people might go backstage when you come to concerts and things like that. I didn't feel that, right? So when all this started happening, I was wondering, like, well, was I too old? Like,
you probably were.
You're probably right. So
no, I'm being dead ass serious. You probably were.
Me too. So I started to think about where I was in that moment of time when history was happening. And I have to tell you that there's a different feel when it comes to R. Kelly. And I'm just going to put Diddy aside for a second and I'll tell you why. Because with R. Kelly, when you listen, I have a box. When I say, well, box, I have his entire collection on CD, the entire collection, his entire catalog, all wrapped unopened. And I have no desire to open or listen to another R. Kelly song again, because
would you throw it out?
I feel as though he was walking us through all of the acts that he was doing. Age ain't nothing but a number, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Come on.
So to me, when I hear it as a woman, as a program director, as a music director who is responsible for putting music on the radio, I feel disgusted. And I have to tell you, it's almost like a peep into a room that we weren't supposed to see. And then everything it's almost like the veil fell, right? All of a sudden we was like, yeah, Aaliyah was like 13, 14, right? So then we start peeling back the layers and saying, why is this 15-year-old girl singing about age ain't nothing but a number and 4-page letter and all these other hits that she had? And then it just puts everything into a different view. Now, the thing about Little Rod is that I want to make sure that I mention, we need to come with the same energy for Little Rod that we had with Cassie. You know, I don't want to take anything away from his story. If he says that he was violated, then we need to give it as much attention as we would give it because Cassie said it and because she's female. You know, men are accosted all the time. And with that said, you know, I'm going to tell you, I've seen some things in the industry, never on this particular level. I have been in spaces with Diddy. Diddy's been in my office. We talked one-on-one. I've gone to Bad Boy in New York. I've sat in his office. But at the end of the day, I just might not be their type. Just real talk. So, you know.
And that's a blessing, Tasha.
I appreciate it every day. I talk to my parents. My parents,
you know what I'm saying? And look, that's a blessing, man. Sometimes you might be standing next. You ever go someplace and you don't know who you standing next to. Then you turn on the news. You're like, oh snap, that was a murderer. Yeah, and he just is nice. Okay. Hey, how you feeling? Like you don't know, and that's a blessing. So I get that, and I totally get it.
I'll tell you about the time I met OJ on another level. We'll talk about that.
Oh my gosh.
But going back to what we were saying, right? But going back to what we're saying, what I'm saying is that I've been in spaces, but let me tell you this. I was always aware. I was always sober. I was always with someone that I knew, and sometimes I traveled in spaces, but I never felt uncomfortable. But I feel as though, for whatever reason, if someone were, and I'm putting Cassie aside, I'm not talking about Cassie. I would talk about Little Rod at this point because he's a man, and he's stronger than a female. He's stronger than me. Let me say that. You know, I'm not saying he's stronger than every female, but he's stronger than me. So if at any point in time someone was fondling my anus, I think I would catch a deuce to the eye, you know, or they would catch a deuce to the eye, or, you know, I would get up and be like, yo, and I would go and have that conversation to where somebody else would know what happened. But I can't speak on his situation. I don't know why in that moment this is just coming out. I don't know why he's feeling this way. But I think that we need to give the same energy that we gave to Cassie, or the same sympathy, because everybody's like, oh, it really happened to Cassie. You can see it in her eyes. You can look in the pictures and see that she's sad. Well, the only thing that negates Little Rod's story is that it does not look like Steve. It is not, according to Stevie J and the porn star, it is not him in the video, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he feels as though he's been violated for whatever reason, even though Diddy's people have come out along with his son's person, his spokesperson, that says this never happened. I never saw little girls, etc. But I am wondering why he went and got Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. That's not a good look. To me?
No. And I'm glad you brought up his son, because Rodney Jones and Janelle, my sister, you said Rodney lists the suit as a RICO act, as a violation of the RICO Act, because it's racketeering and corruption. Yes. Because he's not only highlighted Diddy, he highlighted Justin, his son, and folks that have worked with Diddy under his label as being a part, being complicit in this whole situation, which takes this whole thing to another level, right? With this. But the thing is, the most that I think is that we're not having even a greater conversation about sexual assault in hip hop, right? Like these, and one of our other watchers, You Don't Like My Music, he said something that I think was really important. He said that Diddy makes money off of the talent, whereas R. Kelly was the talent. Oh. So you have a man like a Diddy, who is considered to be probably one of the greatest, and I don't want to use the term producers, let's say greatest architects of Black music within the past 30 to 40, probably the past 30 years, right?
Yes.
Like even if he doesn't put out an album, his touch,
no doubt,
he's worked with literally every major Black artist.
Yes.
From Michael Jackson to all, I mean, you would just go down the gambit. So there's this sense of power. Right. There's this sense of power. I remember, look, I know we got to take a quick pause. When Cassie filed the lawsuit, he settled the next day, right? Diddy went on his social media and started kind of like walking around. There was a video of him on IG, and he was walking around his house, and he was like, something to the effect of like, I'm unstoppable. Nobody can stop me. Like, he was kind of like taunting folks, like, that's a small thing. I just paid her off, shut her mouth, and I'm still going to do the thing, right? So I think that is one thing. But then the other thing about Lil Rod is the fact that this is coming from a man. And as a man, we don't have a conversation about men being sexually assaulted in this country. Yeah. And so if Diddy is putting us, if these allegations are true, where Lil Rod was forced to have sex or do unwelcome sex acts on sex workers and others.
Right.
And as a man, we are conditioned to say what's the problem with that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, he giving you women, so what's the problem with that? And it's we don't have those conversations about how that could still affect a man, but yet we're seeing more and more Black men are broken because of sexual assaults and rape and other sexual acts have been committed against us in an unwanted manner, and that has caused great trauma within Black men, and we're not having enough conversations about it.
No.
Hey, Tasha, let me do this. Let's do. I'm gonna take a quick pause. So stay with us, folks. We're gonna come back and get some final remarks from Tasha Love and from you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching a 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm joined by my sister, Tasha Love, who is a music industry insider. She's been doing work within the industry for over 20 years as we talk about Diddy, sexual assault, and the reckoning of a culture. We got a few moments left, Tasha. So, there's so many, intricacies to this case, right, of Diddy. But without going into the weeds of it, do you think that there's going to be some nuanced conversations about sexual assault within the industry, whether it's in the media side, in the music side? I mean, are we as Black folks in this country, are we going to bring this stuff to light, bring it out of the shadows, stop acting as if this doesn't happen or hasn't been happening, and really deal with it head on? Do you foresee that happening anytime soon?
Well, I would hope so. I've got a 10-year-old son, and I got to tell you that
same. I got one too.
That he is equally as important to me as anyone to their daughters. You know what I mean? And I worry about that fact almost every day as he's getting older. But I want to go back really quickly. That will lead up into the close out the discussion. There is a different comparison from men to women. And that goes back to, look at all the pedophile teachers that are female in the student schools right now, right? So you've got all of the teachers that are sexually assaulting these young boys. And it is almost like a rite of passage where the female teachers can get away with it. It's like, oh yeah, she's a sexy teacher, she's fine, whatever. And there is a different perspective of that is quite annoying to me, because it is not a rite of passage for my son to be sexually assaulted by his teacher. And so I think we have to start at home. We have to start by talking to our young boys and let them know that just as we need to have the conversation with our daughters and our sons equally. It should be no, well, son, it's a rite of passage. Well, let me know if it happens to you. And then going back to what you said about, men in positions of power, look at what happened to Harvey Weinstein and look at how long it took. It's not just the music industry. It is every industry, right? The only thing that is most annoying to us is that this is our hip hop, right? This is our R&B. This is our music industry. It is just like you said, Puff, Diddy, Sean, Love, whatever we call him now. He is responsible for so many of our favorite artists. Are you kidding me? Biggie. I'm raising my son on the edited version of Biggie, but Craig Mack. I've had conversations with Shine, and it's disappointing. It is really disappointing, and it's heartbreaking to feel that all of these things have been happening under our noses. Now, with me being in the industry, again, I've seen some things, and I've seen men pretty much move mountains if Diddy says something. I have seen grown men do whatever whatever Puff told them to do, not in this realm, but I've seen it just on a business aspect. Yo, run and go get me this. Oh, bring me this. Oh, why did you such and such and such? But I'm behind the scenes, right? So because my position in the music industry has allowed me through that back door, I've seen some things, and but I've never been touched personally in these situations as Cassie and as Little Rod. So I don't want to take away from them, but we do need to have a deeper discussion, and there does need to be repercussions if he's found guilty in court, not in guilty in the public opinion. He's already done. Let the industry tell it. Let people on the street tell it. Let the record sales tell it. You know, why you think he put that album out? You think Brother Love didn't know that something was coming down the pipeline? Like,
no, but see, you know what the funny thing is that he may not be done. You know what I'm saying? Like, even to this day, and I know we got to wrap. Even to this day, and I've trolled people. I ain't gonna hold no bones about it. I've trolled people. I remember seeing a post maybe about 2 weeks ago, and it was when Shannon Sharp had Usher on Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
And Shannon said, "Oh, Usher's the king of R&B." Blah, blah, blah. He made some reference like that. And Tasha, you wouldn't believe how many people came into that chat and was like, "No. I mean, Usher's cool. He definitely did his thing, but R. Kelly is the king of R&B." And I'm like, bro, and I literally started trolling people like, he's a pedophile. He raped little girls. He slept with daughters. I just started, and people were like, and I mean, I'm going back and forth with grown-ass black women who have said to me, what you, I mean, so what? I mean, that's all I mean. They probably, wow. This man is in prison. He's doing time. He's doing fed time for sex trafficking and all types of manners of disrespect to little black girls. Right. He didn't do that to white girls because his ass would have been dead if he did that to white girls.
Well, now listen, we need to keep that same energy for Elvis because Priscilla was how old?
Hey, but here's the thing, Tasha. Let me tell y'all. Look, this is one of them shows. I don't care what white people do in terms of. I don't. You can't tell me that because people be on that stuff like, well, white people. That don't mean it's good. It don't mean it's right. No, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying when people bring comparisons, I blow that out the water because I'm like, it's wrong. It's wrong. When Harvey Weinstein did it, it was wrong. If R. Kelly does it, it's still wrong. Like,
yes,
man, please. Come on.
What I'm saying is, I 100% agree with you. But what I'm saying is that this has been happening consistently throughout the industry, right? So what I mean is Elvis should have got the same smoke that R. Kelly gets. And the thing about R. Kelly is that I find most annoying, again, just to your point, is that grown women, he don't want you. He wants your daughters. And I could never sell my daughter, my son, for a musician. You know what I mean? So when I speak to Elvis, what I'm saying is for the artist, it is the norm. I agree with that. That they are somewhat, I don't know why they're attracted to young females. It's wrong. So,
and look, let me just tell you, it's wrong. And I know we got to wrap and it's so wrong, but I feel like, and even if this is the space to do it, because I'm going to give space to victims, I'm going to give space to men and to women to speak their truth. And I'm going to give space to look, man, this ain't the place for me to be. I don't give a damn how much money they got, what type of fame they got. I don't care. Because guess what? It's wrong, bro. It's wrong. Hey, look, hey, Tasha, your son, your beautiful son. So one of the crew members said, you know her son is in the chat. I said, what? Big shout out to little brother Cool. Brother Cool is in the chat. I love it, man. I love it.
My son rides for
y'all treat my brother, little brother Cool. Let's love on brother Cool because he's 10 years old. He watching his mama on TV. Little brother Cool, look, let me tell you something. In this chat, we ain't gonna disrespect you, man. Trust me, we got you, buddy.
I appreciate that. Listen, I support him daily, so it's wonderful to see that he
hey,
gets to see his mom in action.
hey, look, my son is 10 years old as well. And this ain't no tough talk talking about I wish a brother wouldn't and all that stuff, but it is so important. And this is the real truth. There's so many black boys that have been victimized and become broken black men, right? And so I only hope and pray that all the black boys that are growing up in this time around all of this madness, that we protect their hearts, we protect their minds and their spirits and their bodies, man. And I'm very serious, because when I see these little brothers, these little boys got the mind of geniuses.
Yes.
And they're a special group of, this is a special generation of 10 years old and 12 years old. And so, no, man, I don't care if it's your son. If I know your son and he's been disrespected, we're gonna raise Cain up in this piece, man.
There's a village.
It's a village.
And we need to protect that. Yeah, we need to protect that. And
so look, I appreciate you, Tasha.
Yeah, it's important to say, daughters, sons, either way, sexual predators are not allowed here.
That's not allowed, man.
Before, just to wrap, I'll be back to talk about the outcome of this new Diddy charge. So we'll see what happens from here. But either way, we still have to give Little Rod that same respect. And speaking of respect, Farajii, I appreciate you for having me. I respect you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tasha. And little brother Cool, thank you for allowing us to talk to your mom. She's awesome. Tasha Love, music industry insider, thank you so much. And God willing, we'll be reconnecting with you very soon. Talk to you soon, little brother Cool. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, it is tax season. Let's talk about getting your money right for the season and for life. We're going to be checking in for our brother Donald Williams, as he is going to give us some insights, some tips, and things to consider about keeping that money in your pocket. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
Talk about blackness and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Greg Carr, here at the Black Table, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. It is tax season that is upon us, folks. And here today, we're checking in with Brother Donald Williams, who is the owner of Williams Accounting, to talk to us about how to keep some money in your pocket. Donald Williams. Donald, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you, dear brother? Oh, we got you on link. You got you on mute. There we go. Let's do this. We got him up. I can't hear you just yet. We just need to take you off of mute, dear brother. We're going to check in with Brother Donald in a few moments. We're going to check in with Brother Donald as we get his tech situation. And my team, of course, the best in the business, going to do it. But folks, we want you to join us in the conversation as we have these conversations about your money. It's a great time of year to talk about money, especially given the fact that there are some incentives out there, and there's some ways for us to make sure that that you make sure that you keep what you earn. Let's do this. Let's take another quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to check back in and see if we can get Brother Donald on to talk to us, to have this conversation. So stay with us, folks. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move. to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country, poor and low wealth voters, who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Rembaba. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, I think we should be good now to bring my brother Donald Williams back into the discussion. Brother Donald, thank you for joining us. How are you today? We got Brother Donald. We just want to talk a little bit about taxes here. We got him? We got him? Let's see, Brother Donald. We see you, big brother, but we don't look like we can get him. All right, let me just ask my tech team. Let's try to get him in. Let's see if we can. Let me just take a couple of comments from the chat here, based upon the last conversation that we had, talking about Diddy and sexual assault, and this conversation about the reckoning for a culture. Let me just ask y'all, crew, do y'all think that this is going to happen? Can we get some nuanced conversations around sexual assault? Now, even though Little Rod is a man, and I think that actually adds a different complexion to the conversation, whereas Diddy, of course, is a woman, people tend to believe we don't know. So I would love to hear what folks have to say. Ning Lee Natasha says, you said, so Pepper, you slept with Orlando Brown, TD Jakes, this dude that just came forward, and a whole host of others. Well, we don't know. Look, these are all allegations and rumors. You know what I'm saying, Ming? And whether Diddy, and I saw a couple of people saying this, y'all were saying this in the chat, whether he's bisexual or not, that doesn't matter. That's you. How you want to be is your decision. How you want to live your life is your decision. The problem becomes if what you like to do infringes upon the rights, the freedom, I would say that is something that is not going to cause harm to another person. But once you start to kind of go outside of those lines, then that's when things start to get ugly. That's when things start to get dark and sticky and all of those things, right? So you can have any type of lifestyle. You can choose to be who you want to be, but you have to be mindful that if you are going to impose and infringe on someone else's existence, then that's going to be problematic. Let me see something. Janelle, my sister, you said sexual assault is about power against another person. Absolutely. Absolutely. And my hope is next month, guys, let me see. This is what? The 28th. So we have one more day in February because it's a leap year. So we have on March the 1st will be Women's History Month. And I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, and crew members, y'all tell me this, when is Sexual Assault Month? Because we got to have some different conversations, man. We got to have some different conversations. And it's like April. April is Sexual Assault Month. And it's like we're not having, to my understanding, and from what I'm seeing, I don't think we're having enough conversations. We only talk about it when stuff gets so far. Like I said, going back to the R. Kelly moment, we had to see video and audio. I mean, there had to be all this other stuff before it got to the point where we're like, yeah. And even then, even with videos and charges and written pieces that have been written about it, and all of this stuff, people still don't believe that's the case with this guy. But we got to have something different as it relates to sexual assault in this country. All right, let me see who else we got to say. You don't like my music. You say 90% of sexual assaults go unreported too. And you know why you don't like my music? That's a great point. That's a great point. You know why? Because we as a culture don't believe anyone. Now, I get it. People lie. Women lie. Men lie. There are particular motivations for that. You understand that you don't like my music. But we don't create a safe space for people to really tell those stories. We don't create a safe space for victims to be heard. We really don't. We put the victim through so much scrutiny over the perpetrator or the alleged perpetrator. We don't even scrutinize the alleged perpetrator as much as we question and analyze and make judgments and just be like, are you telling the truth? We put the victims through all of that. If you were victimized, and I don't know who was victimized in the chat, but if you were victimized in any type of way, if it's sexual assault, if you were just robbed in the street, if you were victimized, just period, how many of you felt like this is a safe space to have those conversations? Not here on the show, but I'm just saying in the current culture, how many of you would feel like, you know what, I can tell my story and somebody would believe me? People would question. We do this with women. Well, what were you wearing? What time of night were you out? You shouldn't have been out at that time of night. Ooh, what were you doing? If you get robbed, where were you? Right? If you are made a victim, it is hard. It is hard before your story can even be believed. And it's really, really sad. And Lauren Fonseca, thank you for joining the chat. As I mentioned earlier, you said especially child victims. Absolutely. When it comes to children, they can't always speak up for themselves. They're not going to be able to say, this is what happened at this time, at this date. They're not going to be able to share that. All they're going to say is like, this person did some things to me. And and a part of that is because we haven't addressed these issues within our own family. We've been conditioned to not listen to victims because of our own family history. I'm just going to say that. So if your family don't like to deal with issues of rape and incest and sexual assault, then how will you expect to have the heart and the ear to hear someone else talk about their pain, their victimization, their trauma? All right. That's it. All right, let me see this. I know we are at that time. We gonna see. All right, let's see if we can get it. Let's see if we can get Mr. Williams. But the one thing, Mr. Williams, we're gonna try to get Mr. Williams back on because I want to make sure we give him enough time to come on. We got Mr. Williams here. Do we have him? I at least want him to show his face. Brother Donald.
How you doing?
I'm good, Brother Donald. How you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. I hate that this had to go this way with me having these technical difficulties with my computer.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, look, this is what we're gonna do because I know you got a lot to share. Yeah. I want to set up another time, and it's not going to be like in 2 months or something down the road. I'm going to try to set up something within the next couple of days for you to come back onto the show. And that way it gives you the ample amount of time so you could talk about the work you're doing, talking about tax season and all the good stuff, and give us some good tips on good financial management.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying, brother? But look, I'm going to just throw this out there. What's your website? Because I want to give people an opportunity to check out the work you're doing. What's your website, brother?
www.williamsacct.com.
Williamsacct.com. So that stands for Williams Accounting, but you shorthand the accounting. But Brother Donald Williams is the owner of Williams Accounting. They are doing work, of course, during the tax season, but they also are doing work around financial literacy and planning. They also do work to make sure that folks understand how to get the most out of their money. And so I want us to have that conversation, Brother Williams, because so many of our people, especially in Black America, we're struggling right now. You know it, and I know we're struggling right now.
Yes, sir.
And we're looking for alternative ways. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people have 2 jobs now. I think I was reading an article. They said the average American, not even just Black American, but the average American has at least 2 jobs.
Okay. Yes, at least 2 jobs because of the cost of the economy and of cost has gone up. So now, like minimum wage, which is $7.25, isn't enough. And also even the cost of rent and the pricing of food and everything is going up. So that is affecting the people having to get 2 jobs.
And you're talking about minimum wage.
Yes, minimum wage. But even if you're making 15, normally you can survive off of $15, $16 an hour. You can't even do that anymore. The price of inflation with rent is going up as well too. Just like some 1-bedroom apartments are $1,800. And if your check is only $1,600, how can you survive off of that? If you haven't called no car insurance, light bill, phone bill, and also having to get food expenses, also buying household supplies. So the thing about it is that this day and age, they need to raise minimum wage, but they also need jobs have to give more money. Businesses gonna then have to go up on their cost too as well, because it's just like a domino effect.
And very quickly, I know that we're out of time, but the idea that if you are more skilled and qualified, talk to us a little bit about that. What's your stance on, if you're talking to folks who may not have completed college, who may not have gone to college, in our capitalistic system, that going to college is equivalent to how much you're earning or you could possibly earn. But if some of our people are not in that position, so what do they do?
So the thing about that is this is a twofold, right? Because they have people that go to college that only get a degree in criminal justice. And those degrees aren't paying high. They're being social workers. They're being underpaid. And even some school teachers that have degrees, they're being underpaid as well. But then they have people, I think if you can, for the skill set, if you're able to do the job and complete the job and do it as good as a person that has a degree, I think you should be able to, unless it's a skill set profession like it's law or medical or that practice where you do need the education to complete because you're dealing with lives or you're dealing with someone's freedom. But if you are able to, if they require you to have a business management degree and you decide you can do that same job, that you're not impacting anyone. So I think if you have the skill set and knowledge to do it, I think they should compensate you just as much as you give someone that has a degree. I agree. I think that because years of experience is just the same as can be equivalent. You can get a lot of skill set. You get a lot of training and knowledge on the job.
Yeah. And you know what? Some of our older folks, who have been at jobs for 25, 30 years, they have the experience, but then they sometimes get moved out of the way or uprooted because some young whippersnapper comes into the picture and they have a degree. They just simply have the degree.
But they have to understand this. They also have some older folks that have been working on jobs for a very long time, and they're not being compensated. They've been on jobs working for 20 years and still making $30-some thousand an hour, and you want to pay someone with a degree, which is, I have degrees, and it's still with respect, but you still want to pay them. I think that if a person can do the job, I think they need to be compensated, because if you're working 20 years on a job, you have experience. You have the knowledge.
No doubt. This is going to be a big conversation. So again, I want to do justice by the conversation and you, brother. So we'll certainly bring you back on and let's have a discussion about it, especially during tax season. There have been some changes politically within the tax code. There's been some changes, with socially. And given the fact that we are putting our money, and I see people talk about this, when America goes to war, when America wants to do things outside of the country, it's the taxpayers, it's you and me that has to, bear that brunt, right? And so we want to talk a little bit more about that. But again, Brother Donald, we'll do our due diligence. We'll bring you back on. But I appreciate you for being with us just for a few moments to talk to us. Brother Donald Williams, he is the owner of Williams Accountant. Make sure y'all check him out on his website at williamsacct.com. And we look forward to bringing you back on, big brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome, brother. All right, folks. You're welcome, bro. Folks, we got to go. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Big shout out to my fantastic guests, my sister Tasha Love, my sister Suzette Speaks. Make sure y'all all go and check out Suzette Speaks. She's doing phenomenal work down in the Miami area. So make sure y'all support her there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Big Brother Roland Martin with RMU. Make sure you go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And put something in the bucket And we truly, truly appreciate that. Also, follow me on social media at The Real Farajii on Instagram. I'm also on the X platform at Farajii, and on Facebook at Farajii Muhammad. I would love to connect with y'all, and let's continue to build the community of the Culture Crew. All right, folks, stay with us on the other side at 6 p.m. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great afternoon and evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.